Was it a mistake to bomb hospitals in Aleppo?
We never bombed hospitals in Aleppo. Why to bomb hospital? Can you convince your audience that we have interests in bombing hospitals? Actually, this is against our interest. This is against our interest to bomb hospital if it's used as hospital. And the proof that it was a lie, every time they talk about bombing hospital, every time they say this is the last hospital in eastern part of Aleppo. And the second time they talk about another hospital and they say the same. They bombed the last hospital. So it's a lies and lies and lies. We can spend the whole interview talking about lies, and we can talk about the truth and the reality. I have to talk about the reality.
Is it a mistake to use barrel bombs and chlorine gas?
You have to choose which part of the narrative is correct. Once they said we are using indiscriminate bombs, and they called it barrel bombs. The other day they said we targeted hospitals and the schools and convoys. We either have precise armaments or we have indiscriminate armament. So which one do you choose?
Will you do acknowledge, though, that innocent civilians, there have been civilian casualties in this war?
Of course, every war is a bad war.
Okay.
Every war is a bad war. You cannot talk about good war. Let's agree about this. Every war has casualty. Every war has innocent people to pay the price. This is the bad thing about war. That's why we need to end that war. But having casualty doesn't mean not to defend our country against the terrorists.
May I show you a picture?
Of course.
This young boy has become the symbol of the war. I think you know this picture.
Of course I saw it.
His name is Omran, 5 years old, covered with blood, scared, traumatized. Is there anything you would like to say to Omran and his family?
No, there's something I would like to say to you first of all, because I want you to go back after my interview and go to the internet to see the same picture of the same child with his sister. Both were rescued by what they call them in the West white helmets, which is a facelift of Al-Nusra in Aleppo. They were rescued twice, each one in different incident, and just as part of the publicity of those white helmets. None of these incidents were true. You can have it manipulated, and it is manipulated. I'm going to send you those two pictures, and they are on the internet. Just to know, just to see that this is a forged picture, not a real one. We have real pictures of children being harmed, but this one in specific is a forged one.
But it's true that innocent civilians are dying in Aleppo.
Of course, not only in Aleppo, in Syria. But now we are talking about in Aleppo because the whole hysteria in the West about Aleppo, for one reason, not because Aleppo is under siege, because Aleppo has been under siege for the last 4 years by the terrorists, and we haven't heard a question by Western journalists about what's happening in Aleppo that time, and we haven't heard a single statement by Western official regarding the children of Aleppo. Now they are talking about Aleppo recently just because the terrorists are in bad shape. This is the only reason.
So let's talk about the policy of France.
Exactly, the policy of France that started from day one to support the terrorists in Syria and is responsible directly of the killings in our country. And
how can you say it? It's a serious accusation against France. How can you say that France is support terrorism?
They said, I didn't accuse them. They said many times they supported the war, and Holland recently said it was a mistake not to launch war in 2013. They said that they sent armaments to what they call them moderate groups, which are terrorists. They said that, I didn't say. The Americans said the same, the French said the same. So your officials go back to their statements during the last 2, 3, 4 years maybe. You have more than one self-accusation by the French official.
The US Secretary of State, John Kerry, called you Adolf Hitler and Saddam Hussein in the same breath. Does it bother you?
No, because they don't have credibility. This is first of all. Second, for me as president, what I care about first and foremost is how the Syrian people look at me. Second, my friend around the world, not my personal friends as president, I mean our friends as Syrians, like Russia, like Iran, like China, like the rest of the world, not the West. The West always try to personalize things, and just to avoid the real problem, which is about deposing government and getting rid of certain president, just to bring puppets to suit their agenda. So going back to the beginning, no, I don't care about what Kerry said at all.
Will you now allow monitors to come into this country?
Of course. I said
Of course.
we want that, but in line with our sovereignty.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah,
to do everything in cooperation with the Syrian government. You have state here.
Yeah, but
They cannot just come and do whatever they want.
But if you have monitors, they have to be free to look around. They can't
Of course
be.
they are free.
They can't. But they're saying they have to be free with your people accompanying them. Then they're not independent.
They ask for protection, so they need our people. They are asking for protection. How can they go to conflicts and being killed? And if they want, this is their responsibility.
Can outside foreign reporters come? They have not been allowed.
No, they were allowed, and you are here.
I am here, and I have a correspondent here.
And but you've been here for 2 days now. Did anyone tell you where to go, where not to go? Nobody. You are free to go wherever you want.
I am appreciative that I have been allowed here and that you've granted an interview.
No.
Can other foreign correspondents, American and others, come into this country now?
Yeah, exactly.
We have not heard this. You are saying yes?
You have to hear the truth. You have to look for the truth.
Well, I'm asking you now.
But that doesn't mean they can come without a visa. We are a country. They have to take visa. We give visa to people. Maybe we don't give visa to people. We like any other country. Again, it's about sovereignty.
Okay, but
that doesn't mean anyone can come anytime and do whatever they do.
I grant you, but as soon as you say visa, it means this one can't come. That in general now, can foreign correspondents come to this country?
And we've been receiving the delegation from Europe, from the United States, from the rest of the world.
No, sir, you have not been receiving delegations.
I met with them.
Foreign correspondents?
Of course, foreign correspondents. They can give you the articles. They made interviews with me.
But now...
I met with 2 British recently, 1 French. We had.
I was asking you before about potential cooperation between the United States and Syria, but the problem that many would have with that is the continued allegations of human rights abuses by your government. Now, just today, we have a new report from Amnesty International about Sadnaya prison, human slaughterhouse, they call it, 5,000 to 13,000 detainees hanged in mass hangings there, horrific conditions, trials of blindfolded prisoners, 1 to 3 minutes in length, no lawyers, secret, all in secret. This would, on its face, be contrary to every aspect of international law. What do you know about what's going on in that prison?
Let's first of all talk about the first part of your question, which is the problem for the United States to open a relation with Syria regarding the human rights. I will ask you, how could you have this very close relation, intimate relation with Saudi Arabia? Do you consider behaving as a human rights criteria?
Yes, but I'm not interviewing the King of Saudi Arabia right now. I'm interviewing you.
Yeah,
and I'm asking you about reports of human rights abuses in your prison, in your country.
You own the question, I own the answers. So that's my answer. So when you answer about Saudi Arabia and your relation, you can put yourself in that position. Second, the United States is in no position to talk about human rights. Since Vietnam War till this moment, they killed millions of civilians. If you don't want to talk about 1.5 million in Iraq without any assignment by the Security Council. So the United States is in no position to say, I don't open a relation because of human rights, and they have to use one standard. This is first. The second part now.
Yes.
Now I can move to the right. That report, like many other reports published by Amnesty International, put into question the credibility of Amnesty International, and we never look at it as unbiased. It's always biased and politicized, and it's shame for such organization to publish a report without a shred of evidence. They said it's based on interviews. Interviews. What about the document? What about the concrete evidence?
So, of course, we are extremely shocked, particularly in France, by the horror of terrorism. But we are also horrified by a report for Amnesty International released a few days ago, last week. It's about the prison of Sednaya. It's not far from here, not far from Damas. 13,000 executed prisoners, massive hangings, torture. Amnesty speaks, I read the report, of a place where the Syrian state silently slaughters its own people. The Syrian state, your government, Mr. President, is everything permitted in order to win the war. Can you do everything that you want?
No, everything legal. You cannot do anything.
But
you
what
can
prints
do
in the
everything.
Amnesty report
No.
seems to be illegal.
Yeah, there's a difference between me and you talking about facts in Syria or talking about allegations. If you want to talk about allegations, we can spend the time talking about allegations, never-ending allegations. Anyone can say whatever he wants, and we can discuss it. But in that case, we're not going to talk about facts. But if you want to talk about amnesty, because amnesty is known around the world, it's shameful for such organization to build a report on allegations. If you take any allegations to a court in your country, you have court, you have judicial system. Could they take any decision regarding allegations, or they have to look for the evidence? This report built on allegations, not single shred of document, not single evidence. They didn't say 13,000, they said between 5,000 and 13, which is double and half the number. It means it's not precise. There's no mentioning of names of anyone who's from the victim, only 36 out of 10 of those thousands. And there's many flaws. They said, for example, the Grand Mufti is endorsing the execution. The religious figures in Syria has nothing to do with any judicial process. The execution in Syria is legal, it's part of the law since the independence. So the government can execute anyone legally. Why to do it illegal?
You can tell us, but there's no torture in the prison of Sednaya, as Amnesty said?
Yeah, the question is torture for what? I mean, if you want to say that we are committing torture, for what? What do I get? Why? Just for sadism? We are sadists? What is it for?
Russia is on your side. What does it mean for you?
No, it's not on my side. It's on the international law side. It's on the other side, which is opposite to the terrorist sides. This is the position of Russia, because they wanted to make sure that the international law prevails, not the Western agenda in toppling every government that doesn't fit with their agendas. They wanted to make sure that the terrorism doesn't prevail in that area that would affect negatively the Russians themselves, Russia itself as a country, and Europe and the rest of the world. That's what it means for Russia to stand beside the legitimate Syrian government and the Syrian people.
The process of the hangings is authorized by officials at the highest levels of the government. Death sentences are approved by the Grand Mufti of Syria and by either the Minister of Defense or the Chief of Staff of the Army, who are deputized to act on behalf of President Bashar al-Assad.
First of all, what the evidence? So this is first.
Is it true
Second,
or not?
No, it's not true. Definitely not true.
How do you know? Do you know what goes on in that prison? Have you been there?
No, I haven't been. I've been in the presidential palace, not in the prison.
So here you have a very disturbing report about something going on in one of your prisons. Are you going to investigate?
So Amnesty International knows more about Syria than me, according to you. No, that's not true. No, they haven't been to Syria. They only base their reports on allegation. They can bring anyone, doesn't matter what's his title. You can forge anything these days. And we're living in a fake news era, as you know. Everybody knows this. So we don't have to depend on this.
Will you cooperate in investigations to determine if these very serious reports are in fact true?
You showed me many things, but you didn't show me a single evidence.
I showed you an FBI report.
No, it's not evidence at all. It's actually the contrary. Any American institutions for us during the Syrian crisis was against the realities, was the opposite of the truth. That's how we look at it. So it's not Syrian institution, we don't care about what they say. For me, what I care about is what reports I have from Syrian people. And we had investigations because we have many claims regarding not the mass crimes, actually more individual acts. And we've been investigating many, and many people were punished.
Do you, as a father, also say to have nothing to do with the bombardments of the hospitals in Aleppo?
Look, when they say that we are bombarding the hospital, it means that we are killing civilians. That's the meaning of the word. The question, why would the government kill civilians, whether in hospitals or in streets or schools or anywhere? You are talking about killing Syrians. When we kill Syrians as a government or as army, the biggest part of the Syrian society will be against us. You cannot succeed in your war if you are killing civilians. So this story and this narrative is a mendacious narrative, to be frank with you.
But who else got airplanes or bunker-busting bombs besides your army?
It's like you're saying that everyone who's killed in Syria was killed by the airplanes or aircraft, military aircraft. The majority of the people were killed by mortars shelled by the terrorists on them while they are at schools, in their hospitals, in the streets, anywhere else. It's not related to the aerial bombardment. Sometimes you have aerial bombardment against the terrorists, but that doesn't mean that every bomb that fell somewhere was by airplane or by the Syrian army.
The protest really began after the detention and torture of children who were writing graffiti calling for your downfall. I've seen awful pictures of what happened. Why was there such a brutal crackdown?
What happened?
Well, I'll give you some examples, and you can tell me if you've seen them. These are some of the images and stories, and some of the images that I saw. A 13-year-old boy who was arrested in April. A month later, his body was returned to his family, bearing scars of torture. A famous cartoonist whom you know, who was critical of you, badly beaten, his arms were broken. A singer, famous singer, who wrote a popular song calling for your ouster, he was found with his throat cut. You have seen these pictures, have you not?
No, but I
Is this news to you?
No, it's not news. I met with his father, with the father of that child, and he said that he wasn't tortured, and he appeared on the media. We have to see things with a stereoscopic vision with two eyes, not with one eye, to be frank.
The cartoonist. The cartoonist who was critical of you, I've seen his pictures. His hands were broken, he was beaten.
Many people criticized me. Did they kill all of them? Who killed who? Most of the people that are being killed are supporters of the government, not the vice versa.
But in the beginning, what about the singer with his throat cut?
I don't know about him. I don't know about
He was a famous singer, a famous song. You don't know about it?
No, I don't think he's famous. I don't know about him.
You don't know about it? Well,
Maybe
I
he's
saw
famous
those
in the United
pictures.
States, but not in Syria.
Do
you know about him? This is editing. I don't know.
You don't know?
No. I didn't hear the story the first time. For the child, I met with his father, and there was a special investigation committee to see if there was torture. There was no torture. This is only false allegations, to be frank with you. That's why I said at the very beginning, my message for the media to tell the truth, not to listen to rumors.
Over 50,000 photographs taken by one of your former government's photographers showing emaciated, tortured bodies in your prisons.
Who verified the pictures? Who they verified that they're not edited in Photoshop and so on?
Have you seen the photos?
No, I didn't.
Have you seen the photos?
No. I saw some photos in previous reports, but it's not about the photo. How can you verify the photo?
You have said that the...
Do you have a photo?
I do have the photos.
Can you show it to me?
Yes, I'll be happy to. Here.
Okay. This photo, have you verified who are those? Because you have it and because you mention it in front of your audience.
There's a number of photos.
You have to convince your audience. You cannot mention such a picture without verifying who are those and where and everything about it, just to put it in front of the audience, tell them, they've been killed by the Syrian soldiers.
The woman who filed the lawsuit, the Syrian woman who filed the lawsuit, says she saw her brother in those photographs.
At the end, these are allegations. We have to talk about concrete evidence. At the end, that's how you can base your judgment. Not that anyone can say whatever he wants.
You said that you believe these photos may have been doctored. The U.S. State Department gave these photos to the American FBI crime lab, digital lab. They examined these photos and said the bodies and scenes depicted, these are 242 of these images, the bodies and scenes depicted exhibit no artifacts or inconsistencies that would indicate they have been manipulated. As a result of the above observations, all of these 242 images appear to depict real people and events.
Who said that?
The FBI. Have you seen their report?
No. When was that?
That was 2015.
Yeah, the question when your institutions were honest about what's happening in Syria. That's the question. Never. For us, never. So we don't have to rely on what they say. If the FBI says something, it's not something, it's not evidence for anyone, especially for us.
But let me
It's
just,
not policy.
if I hear what you're saying, the FBI is just forwarding propagating propaganda. Amnesty International is propagating propaganda. Everybody is conspiring against the Syrian government. Why?
Ask them.
You're
We're
the
not-
one,
we
you're
don't
the
have-
one making the allegation.
No, I'm not making an allegation. They supported the terrorists. And you go back to what they said. John Kerry, a few months ago, said, by his voice, that we were watching ISIS advancing, and we expected the Syrian president to make concessions. What does it mean? Obama said it in an interview, in one of his speeches, that the war on Iraq created ISIS. So who supported ISIS? We didn't create it. You created. The United States created all this mess. Who supported the rebels and called them moderate rebels while they became ISIS and al-Nusra in Syria? We didn't. So it's not conspiracy. These are facts. This is reality. We didn't give money. We didn't support these terrorists. Your country supported them. UK, France, publicly, and they said they sent armament. We didn't. So you can take that. It's not my allegation. It's your official allegation, including Joe Biden, the vice president of Obama. He said about Saudi Arabia and other countries
That's
supporting
Saudi
this
Arabia,
extremism.
but the United States.
So if
and
it's allegation, it's their allegation. It's American allegation before it's been Syrian allegation.
The United States and its coalition partners have been bombing ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. It's supporting the Iraqi army in its efforts to liberate Mosul from ISIS. How can you say that the United States is supporting ISIS?
Can you explain to me how could they defeat ISIS in Iraq and ISIS was expanding since the American coalition started
Is it
attacking
expanding
Syria?
now?
It's been expanding. No,
Is it expanding now?
It started shrinking after the Russian intervention, not the American one. How could they use our oil fields and export with thousands of barrel trucks to Turkey without being seen by your drones and by your satellites, while the Russians could be able to do so and attack them and destroy all their facilities? How? If this is cosmetic campaign against ISIS.
But the UN report is not a fiction.
The UN report never has been credible, never. And because they put reports based on allegations, based on other reports, on Ford's report, and they say this is a report. Did they send a delegation to make investigation? They sent one in 2013, and it couldn't prove at all that the Syrian army used chemical weapons. This is first. The second, which is more important, the first incident happened at the beginning of 2013 in Aleppo, when we said that the terrorists used chemical weapons against our army. And we invited the United Nations to send delegation. We did. And that time, United States opposed that delegation because they already knew that this investigation, of course, if it's impartial, is going to prove that those terrorists, their proxies, used chemical armaments against the Syrian army. Regarding the barrel bomb, I want to ask you what the definition of barrel bomb. If you go to our army, you don't have in our record something called barrel bomb. So how do you understand it? Just want to know how I can answer you. What a barrel bomb is. We have bombs.
It's a destruction, and it's against humanitarian law.
Every bomb can make destruction, every bomb. So you don't have bomb to make nothing.